Discover the touching journey of an incredible woman, 3 secrets revealed that changed everything. In the heart of Maplewood, where golden fields kissed the horizon, Sarah juggled her roles with fierce determination. Beneath the warm glow of the diner's neon sign, she served coffee with a smile, her heart swelling with love for her 8-year-old daughter, Lily. Each day was a tapestry of little victories, a gleaming A on Lily's report card, the brand new winter coat Sarah had saved for months to buy. Yet lurking just beneath the surface was a constant worry: what if life's tempest eventually swept them away? One fateful evening, as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in bittersweet hues, Sarah's quiet life was shattered by an unexpected visitor. Hank, her estranged father, reappeared after years of silence, dragging along the weight of their tragic past like a shadow. She could feel the tightness in her chest as he walked into the diner, his presence stirring emotions long buried. This was the man who had once abandoned them, leaving Sarah and her mother to navigate a heartache that still echoed within her. Her fists clenched around the coffee pot, hot coffee splashing on the counter as she fought against a wave of anger and confusion. "Sarah," he said, his voice a strained whisper, thick with regret. "I'm here to make things right." Tears brimmed in Sarah's eyes, blurring her vision as she turned away. Was it possible? Could he really understand the pain he had caused? Lily, innocent as ever, watched from a booth, her wide eyes glimmering with a hope she couldn't quite articulate. To her, dreams were magic, thick with possibility, something Sarah rarely believed in anymore, but life refused to pause. The very next day, the town trembled as the factory announced its impending closure. Her neighbors' friends, mothers, fathers filled the diner with worried chatter, the ambience heavy with despair. Sarah's heart sank. How could she protect Lily and everyone she loved from this storm? The uncertain future loomed large, and her own fears surfaced like drowning shadows. Determined not to let hopelessness take root, she channeled her resolve into action. "We have to help each other get through this," she declared one evening, gathering the townspeople for a community event. "Together, we can raise funds, together, we will survive." Excitement mingled with anxiety as they rallied, stories of resilience igniting sparks of hope. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. As plans for the fundraiser took shape, the knot in Sarah's stomach tightened. Each time she glanced at Hank, the man who had hurt her, emotions churned within her. Could they truly move past their scars? Could she forgive him enough to allow him into their fragile world? Then, just as the day of the event neared, tragedy struck, a heartbreaking accident that would test her courage and resilience like never before. Standing on the brink of chaos, with everything she loved in jeopardy, Sarah faced a choice that would define her future. Could she summon the strength to embrace the discomfort of her past, or would fear drive her deeper into the shadows? The community's future hung in the balance, and for Sarah, this was the moment that mattered most, a crossroads leading to healing or despair. As the clock ticked down, the answers awaited just beyond the horizon, longing to be discovered. The day of the fundraiser approached like a storm gathering on the horizon. Sarah felt the weight of anticipation mixed with dread clinging to her like a second skin. She spent every spare moment organizing, decorating the community hall, and making calls to local businesses for donations. But each time she found a glimmer of optimism, a memory of Hank would creep in, pulling her thoughts back into the darker corners of her mind. Lily was a beacon of joy and innocence amidst the chaos. "Mommy, will Grandpa come?" she asked, her eyes wide and hopeful. Sarah felt her heart crack, a mixture of pain and longing for the family she wished they could be. "I don't know, sweetheart," she replied, forcing a smile even as the truth weighed heavily in her chest. As evening descended on the community hall, it transformed into a warm and inviting space filled with colorful banners, twinkling lights, and the scent of homemade pies. Neighbors began to arrive, bringing their laughter and stories that knit the fabric of Maplewood. Sarah welcomed each person with a cheerful demeanor, but inside, she was a tempest. Then, she spotted Hank at the entrance. His hands were stuffed deep in his jacket pockets, looking hunched and small. The breath hitched in her throat. This was where she had to choose. Would she allow this storm of emotions to scatter her or face him, even for Lily's sake? With a sigh masking her fears, Sarah approached Hank. "You came," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "Yeah, I couldn't stay away," he replied, searching her eyes for a hint of forgiveness that felt far out of reach. The air between them was thick with unsaid words. For a moment, they stood there, strangers bound by blood, carrying the weight of the past like a heavy anchor. "The diner is packed," he continued, nodding towards the crowd. "Looks like you've got quite the event here." "It's for everyone," Sarah said firmly, but her heart raced at the thought of showing the community just how fractured she felt inside. As the night unfolded, stories of resilience poured out from fellow townspeople, igniting sparks of hope. The laughter was infectious, a balm for the wounds that ran deep. Yet, as the tears and smiles mingled, Sarah felt the tempest inside her howl louder. Suddenly, during one of the speeches, a loud crash splintered the atmosphere. A table toppled over, dishes clattering to the floor. Panic rippled through the crowd. In that instant, chaos erupted, and Lily's scream pierced the air. "Mommy," she cried, and Sarah's heart dropped as she turned, fear washing over her. Frantic, she raced through the crowd, her heart pounding as she pushed past the collective shock of her friends and neighbors. What had happened? What had caused that noise? Finally reaching her daughter, she found Lily on the floor near broken glass, tears streaming down her face, shoulders shaking. Seeing her baby in distress silenced Sarah's turmoil. It didn't matter that Hank was there, or that the fundraiser was at risk. The only thing that mattered was her daughter. "Sweetheart, are you hurt?" Sarah knelt, pulling Lily into her arms, heart racing. "No, Mommy. I'm okay," she sobbed, clinging tighter. As relief filtered through Sarah, she glanced momentarily at Hank, who was watching from a distance, an expression of uncertainty and concern. It hit her, perhaps they both needed healing, to bridge the chasm of their past with honesty and vulnerability. Yet just when she thought the night couldn't become any more complicated, Lily pulled back, eyes wide. "Mommy, there's someone outside." Sarah turned, a chill creeping down her spine. Who could be out there at this hour? And as the door creaked open, a figure stepped in, draped in shadows. The unexpected visitor had the power to change everything. What would this new arrival mean for Sarah and her fragile world? Would it shatter her resolve or offer a lifeline in the dark? The room fell silent as the figure stepped fully into the light. Sarah's breath caught in her throat as recognition washed over her. It was Marge, an old friend from high school, but the years had changed her. Marge's once boyish charm was replaced with a more rugged confidence, and her eyes held a depth that spoke of hard times weathered. "Hey, Sarah," Marge said, her voice steady but warm, cutting through the tension like a knife. "I heard about the fundraiser. Thought I'd drop by." Relief surged through Sarah, but confusion quickly followed. Marge had moved away years ago, chasing dreams that never seemed to stop spinning. Why had she returned? The community hall buzzed with uncertainty, like trapped bees ready to swarm. "Wow, it's been how long?" Sarah asked, her smile tentative. "Too long. But I've missed this place," Marge replied, glancing around at the familiar faces, many now blurred by time. Her gaze passed over Hank momentarily, lingering for just the briefest heartbeat before returning to Sarah. "I heard about everything, the fundraiser, the diner and, well, life. And what brings you back?" Sarah managed, her heart caught between hope and hesitation. "I needed to be here," Marge said simply, her eyes earnest. "I've seen a lot outside of Maplewood, and let me tell you, there are things that matter more than money or success. Things like family and forgiveness." The weight of her words sank in just as a slight stirring in the crowd pulled Sarah's focus. She saw Hank shifting, his expression unreadable. It was as if the air had thickened, and Sarah could sense the old ghosts swirling around them, past injuries surfacing with this unexpected reunion. "Marge, it's good to see you, really," Sarah said, trying to focus on her friend instead of the storm brewing in her heart. But there's so much to explain. Not if you don't want to, Marge replied, her voice a gentle touch. Sometimes, you just need to be. I know how tough it can be. Sometimes a hug and knowing someone cares can do wonders. The truth of it struck Sarah like a lightning bolt. She had tried to carry the burden alone, and for what? The pain she held felt lighter somehow in Marge's presence. Perhaps she didn't have to brave the tempest of the evening by herself. Lily, still quaking in Sarah's embrace, peeked at Marge through tear-streaked cheeks. Who are you? She sniffled, gazing up wide-eyed. Marge, your mom's friend, Marge replied, crouching down to Lily's height, her face softening. You got a brave heart, I can tell. The tense atmosphere shifted slightly as Marge extended her hand. Hesitant at first, Lily reached out, feeling the warmth radiating between them. In that simple gesture, something felt new, a connection, a moment of understanding that reached beyond past grievances. Sarah's heart swelled as she watched Marge and Lily bond. In this moment of vulnerability, both women stood on the edge of revelation. She felt drawn to spill out her worries, her hopes, and yes, her fears. But just as she opened her mouth, Hank stepped forward, his hands unclenching from their pockets. Sorry, he cleared his throat, trying to break the heavy air. I think I should help, with the mess, as he awkwardly gestured toward the spilled dishes and debris. Sarah saw it, a spark of the man she once loved, still buried beneath layers of hurt and regret. Before she could decide, the evening's events shifted again. Someone in the crowd cried out, drawing attention back to the fundraiser. A competitive spirit had ignited amongst the attendees, eager for an impromptu donation challenge. Laughter bubbled, but underneath the noise, there was tension. Now everyone would see Hank and Sarah together, feel the precision of the emotional dance they were caught in. Sarah's breath quickened. Would this be a moment to draw both their pasts into the light, or simply an escape from the depth of everything unspoken? In that instant, she felt the weight of two paths ahead, one filled with resolving their shared history or further complicating it. As the noise engulfed them, the possibilities loomed. Unspoken. Would they tackle the past or let it linger as shadows? Sarah, Marge said, nudging her back to the moment. No matter what happens, remember you're not alone. The night had only just begun, and it held the power to change everything. What would Sarah choose to confront next? Would the whirlwind of emotions reveal a new beginning, or separately shatter their fragile attempts at healing? The laughter and chatter in the community hall seemed to swell and crash like waves against a boat. Sarah stood there, looking from Marge to Hank, her heart a tempest of emotions. The part of her that longed for closure clashed with the fear of digging into the past. The atmosphere shifted again as the crowd chimed in, eager for donations to boost the fundraiser. Let's make this fun. Someone shouted, and the murmur of excitement built. People paired off, grabbing items from their tables, devising clever contests to raise money. But beneath the surface, Sarah felt a swell of tension within her own circle. Marge caught her eye again, her steady gaze encouraging. "You got this," she seemed to say without uttering a word. It was a silent promise, a nudge toward the truth that hung heavy in the air. Hank moved closer, still conscious of the steps he needed to take, yet uncertain how to bridge the vast distance that had grown between them over the years. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice low, almost drowned out by the rising enthusiasm around them. "I'm fine," Sarah replied, though the sharpness of her tone surprised even herself. What was she even trying to protect? Lily, sensing the shift in her mother's mood, tugged at Sarah's sleeve. "Mom, what's wrong? It's supposed to be a fun night." Her innocent question stung, sending a jolt of clarity through Sarah. Lily deserved the truth. They both did. Taking a deep breath, Sarah glanced back at Marge, who stood nearby, hands clasped together, waiting expectantly. How had Marge managed to create such a safe space just by being there? They had once been inseparable, only to drift apart, but tonight felt like a path opening from a fog. "Okay," Sarah started, her voice shaky but determined. "Maybe we need to address the elephant in the room." Her heart raced as she continued, "There's a lot between me and Hank that's unresolved." The words felt monumental, like she was opening the floodgates. Hank nodded, his expression softening. "I'm glad you're saying this, Sarah," he finally replied, his voice low. "I've wanted to talk about it, too. I just didn't know how." The impulse to run felt like a tether pulling against her instincts, but she stood firm. She did not want to back down now. "Maybe this is the time then. Maybe we can all face it together, as friends?" Lily looked between them, wide-eyed, trying to piece it together. "Are you guys friends again?" she asked, her small voice cutting through the weight of the moment. Marge stepped in again, placing a gentle hand on Lily's shoulder. "Sometimes it takes a little while to work things out, sweet pea. But it's good to talk it through." The invitation felt like a buoy in dark water, glimmering just enough to keep hope afloat. "Marge, thank you," Sarah whispered. She felt gratitude swell within her for the support that had shown up when she needed it most. "And for the record, I'm here for you," Marge added, her eyes sparkling with the seriousness of her intentions. "You don't have to pretend everything's fine, not with me, not with anyone." In that moment, something shifted in Sarah's chest. The years of bottled emotions felt ready to spill as she turned back towards Hank. "It's been hard, Hank. You know that, right?" "I do," he admitted, his voice cracking slightly. "I've made mistakes, and can we start there?" Sarah interrupted softly. Fear of the past held her back, but there was strength in facing it together, in being real with each other. As the crowd cheered for yet another successful donation, laughter echoed around them, signs of unity amid chaos. Yet here in their small circle, it was as though the world had dimmed, focusing solely on the three of them. Marge watched with reassurance, and Lily, sensing the tension easing, simply smiled. It was a new connection, a fleeting moment where hope could flourish amid uncertainty, but just as Sarah felt buoyed by this revelation, a loud crash echoed from the kitchen. The moment shattered, voices rising as another round of chaos erupted. "What was that?" someone shouted, and the tension returned like a dark cloud, rolling in. No turning back now, Sarah thought, her heart beating fast. Would this distraction push them to the edge? Or was it a part of the journey they needed to embrace? Little did they know, the night had only begun to reveal its secrets. What awaited them next could change everything, or leave them hanging in the unresolved. As the energy buzzed back to life, Sarah's eyes sought Hank's again. "Can we step out for a moment? We really need to talk." What would they unlock in that fleeting moment of truth? Sarah felt a pang of urgency surge through her as the chatter in the hall grew louder. She grabbed Hank's hand instinctively, leading him through the throng of guests, cutting through the excitement as if it were a dense fog. The noise faded as they stepped outside, into the cool embrace of the evening air, stars twinkling like distant lanterns above them. The moment they were alone, a tension crackled between them, heavier than before. Hank ran a hand through his hair, pacing slightly, while Sarah tried to steady her own racing heart. I thought it was important we talk," she began, her voice trembling slightly. "There's so much we haven't said." "I know," Hank replied, his eyes meeting hers with a mix of regret and longing. "I've made mistakes, Sarah. I've hurt you, and I'm sorry." Sarah's breath caught. Just those few words opened a floodgate of emotion. "Do you even know the whole story? The hurt wasn't just from what you did, Hank. It was the silence that followed. The distance." Hank sighed deeply, and for a moment, the world around them faded completely. "I was ashamed," he admitted. "I didn't know how to face you again. I thought maybe if I just stayed away, it would hurt less." "Did it?" She shot back, allowing her anger to bubble through the cracks of her heart. "Because it hurt me a lot. Every day that passed felt like a weight on my chest." He stepped closer, his expression softening further. "I never wanted it to be like this. I've been carrying that weight too, Sarah. More than you know." Sarah paused, digesting his words. "It felt like you left me alone to figure things out," she murmured. "Because I didn't know how to be what you needed," Hank confessed, his voice heavy with emotion. I thought if I stayed away, you could make a better life for yourself. I was wrong, I see that now. The silence hung between them, filled with memories of laughter and love once shared. Sarah's heart raced, torn between anger and an aching hope. You don't just get to waltz back in and say you're sorry, she said, fighting her instinct to embrace him. You took so much away from me, from us. I understand, he said softly. And I want to make it right. Can we try? For us? For Lily? The mention of their daughter twisted her insides. Lily was the one bright star shining over their shared darkness. I don't know how we rebuild from this. So much has happened. Why don't we start with honesty? He suggested, the pleading tone in his voice giving her pause. We can't undo the past, but we can be real about where we are now. The sincerity in his eyes stirred something deep within her. I'm scared. Me too, he admitted. But when I saw you tonight, I realized I can't keep running from us. Not anymore. Sarah felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes as they both stood there, vulnerability shared in the starry sky. What if a sudden crash from the kitchen broke through their moment, piercing the stillness like lightning? The door swung open, and Marge rushed to them, her face pale. You guys. You need to come back in. Something's happened. Sarah looked at Hank, and for a brief heartbeat, they understood each other without words, a shared resolve. They had spent years locked in silence and half-truths, but tonight felt like an unraveling. Let us go, Hank said, his voice steady. You and me, together. With a sense of impending urgency, they followed Marge back through the chaos that brewed within the hall. What awaited them inside may just be the pivotal moment that changed everything once more. As they stepped through the door, a feeling of dread leaked into Sarah's stomach. What had they returned to? What other truths were waiting just beneath the surface? The night was far from over, and the air buzzed with potential. Inside the hall, the buzz of conversation had shifted to sharp whispers and worried glances. Sarah's heart sank as she scanned the crowd, her pulse quickening. Friends and family stood clustered together, eyes darting toward the kitchen door. What is going on? She asked Marge, who had stayed close, hovering near them as if she was their tether to the reality unfolding around them. It's Lily, Marge replied, her voice low but urgent. Well, you better just see for yourselves. Pushing through the crowd, Sarah felt Hank's grip tighten around her hand. The tension in his posture mirrored her own. As they entered the kitchen, the scene before them slipped into focus like a haunting backdrop. Lily lay on the floor, her beautiful curls framing her pale face. She was unconscious, a few older children huddled around her, looking scared. A woman from the party, an emergency medical technician, or so it seemed, was kneeling beside her, checking her pulse and calling out instructions to other guests who hovered uncertainly. Call 911. Someone shouted. Sarah's heart dropped even further. Lily. She rushed forward, dropping to her knees beside her daughter, helplessness washing over her like a wave. Please, God. Please. Hank knelt beside her, his hand squeezing Sarah's shoulder, a grounding force amid the panic. I'm here, Sarah. We'll get through this, he murmured, though his voice trembled with fear. Marge had raced to the phone, her hands shaking as she dialed. The woman in the kitchen was calm yet commanding, urging everyone to step back, to give room for the medic to work. She's going to be okay, the woman said, looking at Sarah with a firm gaze. We need to keep her stable until help arrives. Is she diabetic? Any known medical conditions? No. No, she's healthy. Tears streamed down Sarah's cheeks as she grabbed Lily's hand, squeezing it softly. Honey, wake up. Please wake up. Mommy's right here. Moments stretched out like hours, every second feeling like an eternity filled with unanswered questions and aching silence. The sound of sirens in the distance pierced through the chaos, filling the air with urgency. A flicker of hope sparked within Sarah along with the fear that threatened to consume her. They're almost here, sweetie, she whispered, though she wasn't sure if there was any truth in it. Finally, paramedics burst into the room, swiftly taking over. They moved with confidence, assessing Lily's condition, shining a light in her eyes, checking her breathing. One of them asked Sarah questions about her daughter, but they tangled together in a fog of emotion. As the medics hoisted Lily onto a gurney, Sarah felt a rush of protectiveness. "I want to go with her," she cried, trying to keep pace as they wheeled her away. "Sarah, wait," Hank called, his voice an anchor amid the whirlwind. "Let them do their job. They'll take her to the hospital, and we can follow right after." She turned to him, panic spilling from her eyes. "What if something's really wrong? We need to, I know." He interrupted, his voice low but firm. "But we can't help her like this. We will get to her, I promise." As they got ready to leave, Sarah felt a strange sense of clarity wash over her. Amid the chaos of this horrible moment, she realized that the distance between her and Hank had shrunk. They were facing this together at their most vulnerable, and for the first time in a long time, she wasn't alone. But as they stepped out, the reality of the night tore at her heart. What if this moment led to more than just a trial with their daughter? What else could change tonight? A rush of feelings surged within, tangled with confusion and the need for anything to shift between them. "Do you think we can come back from this?" Sarah whispered, clinging onto Hank's arm, as they crossed through the door and out into the cold night air. Hank took a breath, searching her eyes for answers. "We have to." For Lily, and just as they stepped into the night, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a deeper unraveling of truths yet to be faced and the connection between them that might, finally, be grasped. What else awaited them in the hospital? Would they finally find their way back to each other amid the chaos, or was there more hidden beneath the surface than either dared to admit? The drive to the hospital was a blur. The nighttime streets glided by, their bright light streaks of color as Sarah sat, her mind racing while she clutched her phone tightly. She felt Hank's hand on her knee, his warm support a tether in the storm of her thoughts. Yet, even that comfort couldn't settle the whirlwind in her heart. "Do you think she's going to be okay?" Sarah's voice broke the silence, small and trembling. Hank inhaled slowly. "I hope so." The medic seemed confident. She nodded, but doubt gnawed at her. Confidence could only mean so much. What if this was worse than they imagined? She was just playing. It came out of nowhere. Sometimes these things happen. Kids are resilient. He tried to sound reassuring, but even to Sarah, it felt like a weak facade. After all, resilience didn't mean invincibility. As they pulled into the hospital's parking lot, Sarah's breath quickened. The hospital loomed large and sterile, a place full of possibility and dread. She opened the car door before Hank could help her, the urgency overriding her sense of decorum. "We need to find her," she said, already rushing toward the entrance. Inside, the emergency room buzzed with life, nurses whizzed past, and families huddled closer in waiting areas. Sarah's eyes darted around, searching for someone who would give them answers. "Where's our daughter?" Lily, a little girl. Panic began to settle in like a cold fog. A nurse approached, clipboard in hand, her face a mask of professionalism. "Please have a seat. Someone will be with you shortly." As Sarah sat in the sterile waiting area, time twisted and stretched. The minutes felt like hours, each click of the clock resonating in her chest. Hank intertwined his fingers with hers, though Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this moment was impossible to share. "Would you like some water?" he asked, but Sarah just shook her head. The knot in her stomach felt like too much to handle alongside even the simplest of gestures. Then it hit her, the reality of their situation twisted with more complexity than she had been prepared for. They had spent so long drifting apart, but now, facing this dire moment, every unresolved tension boiled beneath the surface. Sleeping soundly next to one another felt like a distant memory, and she didn't know how to reach out. "I'm scared, Hank." The words came out barely above a whisper. What if she doesn't make it?" Hank's face fell, his usual steadiness cracking slightly. "We can't think like that. We have to be strong, for her." His words were meant to reassure, but they only magnified her fear. What did strength really look like? Because all she felt was unraveling. Just as she opened her mouth to speak again, a doctor arrived, his stethoscope draped around his neck and exhaustion etched on his brow. "Sarah, Hank?" He gestured for them to follow him. "I need to speak with you about Lily." Every step felt like walking through deep water. Sarah's heart raced, each beat resounding in her ears. "What did you find?" she managed to ask, her voice trembling. The doctor paused outside a private room, a gravity in his eyes that sent chills down Sarah's spine. "It's important to stay calm. There are some things we need to address." Calm. All at once, an overwhelming sense of dread washed over her. This was it. The moment they had been fearing, the moment that could unravel everything they held dear. As the door swung open, the reality of the situation enveloped her. What they learned today could change everything for Lily, for their family, and perhaps even for their fragile connection. "Sarah, I need you to listen." But could they really find a way back from this? As the doctor began to speak, Sarah realized that whatever came next might determine the future of their family in ways they had never anticipated. The doctor stepped into the room, and the air thickened with unspoken fears. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest, the sound almost drowning out the doctor's voice as he began to explain Lily's condition. She focused hard, trying to extract meaning from his words, but they tumbled together, a jumble of medical jargon and dire implications. Head injury, some swelling, symptoms of concussion. Hank's grip tightened around Sarah's hand, his knuckles white. She could see the fear reflecting back at her, a mirror of her own dread. They were in this together, yet so far apart. "Can I see her?" Sarah interrupted, desperation creeping into her tone. We need to monitor her. The next few hours are critical," the doctor replied, cutting her off with professional compassion. "She's stable for now, but we'll need to run some tests." Stable, the word echoed in her mind like a flickering light in a dark room. Was it enough? Hank's eyes locked onto hers, searching for reassurance that seemed to elude them both. "What can we do?" he asked, breaking the silence that spread between them, thick and suffocating. "Just wait," the doctor said gently. "I know this is hard, but patience is key. Our team will keep you updated as soon as we know more." With that, the doctor left them standing in the threshold of uncertainty, the sterile white walls echoing their muted anguish. Sarah wanted to scream, to shake her fists at the universe for putting them in this place. How could something so innocent turn so dark in the blink of an eye? "I can't just sit here," she said suddenly, her frustration boiling over. "I need to do something, anything." Hank turned to her, his expression unsure. "Let us talk to the nurses," he suggested, pulling her back from the edge of her spiraling thoughts. "They might have more information." They headed toward the nurses' station, where a friendly woman with kind eyes looked up from her clipboard. "Can I help you?" she asked, her tone soothing. "We just want to check on our daughter, Lily." "Is there any news?" Sarah's voice trembled as she spoke, the weight of emotion almost too heavy to bear. "She's in good hands," the nurse reassured them. "The doctors are doing everything they can. As soon as I hear anything, I promise to let you know." Every syllable fell like a stone onto Sarah's heart. She nodded, grateful, but unable to shake the gnawing uncertainty that clung to her. They returned to their seats, silence enveloped them again. In that stillness, Sarah's mind raced back to all the moments that led them here, the laughter at the park, the birthday parties filled with joy. It felt so distant now. She turned toward Hank, finding his eyes deep with worry but also soft with something else, guilt. Regret? "Hank, if something happens, what does this mean for us?" The question hung heavy in the air, loaded with fear and unspoken truths. He opened his mouth to respond, but the words seemed stuck. His face shifted, showing cracks in his calm facade. "Sarah, we need to focus on Lily right now. Let us get through this together." The word was a lifeline in that moment. It reminded her of what they had once been, a team, partners in every sense of the word. As minutes dragged on, anxiety tightened like a vice around her chest. She wasn't sure how long they could keep pretending everything would be okay. "I don't want us to fall apart," she whispered, tears threatening to spill. Hank reached over, brushing his thumb against her cheek. "Neither do I. We'll get through this together." But in that moment of shared vulnerability, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this could change everything, that their past struggles might resurface like old shadows. As the clock on the wall ticked away, an uneasy silence fell between them once more, thicker than ever. How would they navigate this? Without warning, the door opened again, and a second doctor, this one with a different demeanor, stepped inside. "Sarah, Hank, it's time to talk." Her heart raced as the words echoed in her mind, spinning with unanswered questions. What now? What did they have to face next? Sarah's breath caught in her throat as the doctor paused in the doorway, his face unreadable. It was the kind of look that sent chills down her spine, an unsaid warning of impending news that could shatter what little peace they had managed to hold on to. "Please, just tell us the truth," Hank urged, his voice steady but laced with anxiety. It felt like the air had thickened right around them, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like angry bees. The doctor stepped inside, closing the door behind him. "I understand this is difficult," he began, his voice calm yet serious. "Lily is stable, but we need to be honest about her condition." Sarah's heart raced faster. "What do you mean?" she pressed, her words tumbling out in a frantic whisper. "We have concerns regarding the swelling on her brain. While she is being monitored, there's a possibility that we may have to take further steps if her condition changes." He paused, watching their expressions carefully. "This could involve surgery." The word hit Sarah like a physical blow. Surgery? Her mind was an avalanche of fears and what-ifs. She looked to Hank, whose face was pale as if he had seen a ghost. "Is there anything we can do?" he asked, his voice cracking slightly. "What are the odds?" The doctor took a deep breath, clearly grappling with how much to reveal. "The odds depend on many factors. Right now, the best thing you can do is stay here and stay positive. Your presence is vital for her recovery." Positive. The word felt foreign in her mouth. "How can we be positive when our world is falling apart?" Hank squeezed her hand tight. She could feel the warmth from him, a flicker of hope in the chaos, but it was becoming harder to maintain that glow. "Can we see her?" Sarah asked desperately, feeling more like a mother who was watching her child suffer than a spouse with worries of her own. "Not yet," the doctor replied, his voice firm but not unkind. "Let us give her time with the medical staff to stabilize. I promise I'll come back with updates." With a nod, the doctor turned to leave, but Sarah couldn't let it end there. "Wait. What if something changes? What do we do?" He hesitated, then looked back at them, eyes softening. "Stay close to each other. That's the most important thing you can do. Kids sense their parents' fear and anxiety. If you stand together, you give her strength." As the door clicked shut behind him, silence wrapped around them once more. Sarah struggled to find words, trying to process the avalanche of emotions spiraling within. "I'm scared, Hank," she finally said, her voice breaking. "I don't know if I can do this." The rawness of her own admission hung in the air. "Look at us," Hank said, his gaze steady, searching hers. "We've been through so much already. We've come back together when it felt hopeless." A thought crossed her mind, lifting her spirits momentarily. Wasn't this the time they needed each other most? With that piece of common ground, she saw a flicker of a plan. They would have to lean on one another. Suddenly, a beeping sound drew their attention. It was coming from the monitor on the nurse's station, a collection of sounds that felt like a symphony of uncertainty. Sarah's heart raced as she turned toward the sound, waiting for someone to emerge from behind the threshold. Moments ticked by, stretching into an eternity. "Hank, what happens if?" But before she could finish, the door opened again. Another nurse peered in, the strain on her face signaling something was amiss. "You need to follow me. There's been a change." Fear surged in Sarah's chest. "What change?" Why did uncertainty have to dog every hopeful thought? As her feet moved toward the unfamiliar sound of urgency, her mind wrestled with dread. What awaited them behind the next door? Only time would tell, but she had a feeling that everything was about to change. As Sarah and Hank followed the nurse down the sterile corridor, their hearts beat in sync with the rhythmic beeping of the monitors lining the walls. Each step echoed like thunder in Sarah's chest, her breath coming in shallow bursts, and she squeezed Hank's hand tighter, seeking comfort amid the chaos. "We're here for her," Hank whispered, though he didn't sound entirely convinced. As they turned a corner, the fluorescent lights flickering overhead began to feel less like a source of clarity and more like the flash of warning signs, urging them to brace for what lay ahead. The nurse led them into a small room, and there lay Lily, small and fragile amidst the hospital's stark white sheets. The beeping machines watched over her, pulsating life into the air thick with tension. Sarah's throat tightened as she took in the sight of her daughter, her brows furrowed in deep slumber, lost to a world she could not yet understand. "I need you both to stay calm," the nurse said gently, her demeanor steady but serious. "Lily's condition has changed. We need to monitor her closely. She is still stable, but we have to prepare for any possibility." "Any possibility?" Sarah repeated, dread pooling in her stomach. "What do you mean?" The nurse met her eyes, her expression clear but compassionate. "We monitor her for any signs of distress. If necessary, we can proceed with intervention, but we hope it won't come to that. Right now, she needs you both, and she can hear your voices. Can I hold her hand?" Sarah's voice was small, but her determination was fierce. "Of course," the nurse replied, stepping back to give them space. As Sarah sat beside Lily, she picked up her daughter's small hand, feeling warmth radiate from her tiny fingers. Tears spilled over, cutting through the mask of bravery she had tried to wear. It was in this moment, holding her child's fragile hand, that Sarah felt every ounce of worry and pain crack open, letting emotions flow in torrents. "Please, baby, please wake up," she whispered softly. "We need you. Mommy and Grandpa were here. You're not alone." Hank knelt beside her, both of their hands enveloping Lily's small one, united in their love. "We're gonna make it through this together, buddy," he said, his voice strained but full of hope. "No matter what." Sarah turned to Hank, eyes glistening with unshed tears. The fear of losing Lily had thrust them into a shared understanding of what mattered most: their family, their bond, the love that still flickered between them. It felt like a revelation, a shoring of their hearts against the storm together. Suddenly, the beeping intensified, and Sarah gasped, her heart racing as the tension in the room thickened like fog pressing in on all sides. "What is happening?" she cried, panic surging once more, but just as quickly as it escalated, the alarm softened, the nurse rushing back in with purposeful steps. "Everything's fine, just a temporary alert. It happens sometimes when they adjust medication." She gave them a steady look. "You're doing great. Just keep talking to her." The seconds turned into minutes, and Sarah poured out her heart to Lily, recounting tales of sunshine in Maplewood, their crazy dog, and all the little moments that usually filled their lives. Each word dripped with love, unfurling warmth around the room. As the nurse checked the monitors, Hank found Sarah's gaze, uncertainty clouding his expression. What if we're not enough?" The fear bled through his words, and Sarah felt the weight of it, too. "We are," she replied fiercely, her heart pounding. "We've been building this together, not just for Lily but for us. It's the trust we've been searching for." His eyes softened as he wrapped his arm around her shoulder, pulling her into a comforting embrace. "You're right. We can't lose hope," he murmured against her hair. Just then, Lily stirred, tiny brows wrinkling. "Mommy?" she croaked, eyes fluttering open, searching for them. "Sweetheart. Mommy's right here." Sarah's heart soared, wrapping warmth around each syllable. "Don't leave me," Lily mumbled, her voice soft yet filled with a child's innocence that shattered Sarah's heart and mended it all at once. "Never," Sarah vowed, squeezing Lily's hand tighter. Hank nodded, his own emotions spilling into a flood of relief. With those words, it felt like the clouds that had shadowed them were finally parting, letting in light and promise. There was still uncertainty ahead, but they were facing the unknown together, armed with love and a renewed sense of family. Moments later, a doctor entered, offering a reassuring smile. "Lily, you gave us quite a scare," he said with gentle authority. "We're going to take good care of you now that you're awake." As they settled back into each other's presence, Sarah took a deep breath, her heart lighter. Lily's small hand felt like the glue binding them all together, the catalyst for healing. They were a family learning to forgive, to love, and to stand strong together. In that quiet room, beneath the soft hum of machines, uncertainty still danced in the air. But as Sarah gazed into Lily's innocent eyes, filled with wonder and life, she knew everything would be all right. This was their moment of fresh start. And from that instant on, nothing could ever feel quite the same, nor would they ever take each other for granted again. Now, as you've witnessed this incredible journey and felt the depths of hope, transformation, and love, you need to subscribe immediately to our channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire and uplift your moments. Tap that like button now. It's crucial to feed the algorithm and helps us reach more hearts. Comment right away with your reactions and feelings about this ending. Your insights matter so much. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. True fans like you understand the importance of supporting the channel through your actions. Let us spread love and unity together.